It's Monday, 20th of January, 2025. And in this evening's show, we reflect on Saturday's 2-2 draw at home to Huddersfield as Blackpool squandered a 2-0 half-time lead, a result which sees Blackpool without a home win since the 28th of September, a long time. We also catch up on all latest transfer news and look ahead to Saturday's fixture away at Exeter City. I'm John Aspel, and this is Seaside's podcast match reaction show. Blackpool 2, Huddersfield Town 2.
A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Seaside's podcast on a Monday. We finally said we'll appear on Monday at 8 regularly, so this is the first of many, Tim, no doubt. Tim's limped over to his mic. Would you like to tell the listeners or show the listeners what's happened to you? For the benefit of the audio pod, he is showing a tangerine plaster cast.
There we go. Apparently, it's the most popular colour at Blackpool Victoria Hospital.
Seriously, is it?
Yeah. It's only one of the only two. I can't remember. He said another one actually. He said it was either one of the only two hospitals in the country where it's the most popular colour. So I'm trying to think who else it'll be.
Probably Luton.
Maybe
Or,
Luton, yeah.
or Dundee.
Dundee. Yeah.
Dundee, yeah. So yeah, I managed to get that put on. I originally had a blank white one. I got that put on last Wednesday or Thursday. So I had to be suitably attired. So I was getting plenty of comments actually at the hospital because I had my tangerine jacket on as well. So and correcting people who were calling it orange, an orange cast, educating the masses as we all have to do on a regular basis. So.
Plenty of football you can watch now. At least you've got the excuse for putting your feet up and watching the footy. Welcome, Matt. Been a while since you last on. Good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me back. I just thought I'd prove that I was still alive, basically, more than anything else. See if I can throw any words of wisdom in the next hour as well.
I think Phil Collins, I noticed one of his final tours is not dead yet. I thought that was quite funny. So
that's it, yeah.
Matt Smith,
absolutely.
not dead yet. Not dead yet.
Still kicking and screaming.
And Brad, been a while for you as well. You put a good run together on your debut, but it's faltered. So back in the fold.
I know. I think I was trying to. Well, I would have gone on the pod when we played against Wrexham, but unfortunately, I was overseas in Cape Verde enjoying myself.
Oh, what a shame, eh?
It's a struggle.
What a shame that you had to go away in the sunshine between Christmas and New Year.
Believe you and me, the Wi-Fi was terrible. Believe me. So, I missed a few games out of that. So I was pretty gutted, to be fair, but, compensated with the beach and the all-inclusivity, I have to say.
Lovely stuff.
Loved it. Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Let's get back on the drizzle of Bloomfield Road and the freezing Bloomfield Road as it was on, what day is it? Saturday. We're almost back to normality after Christmas. A very cold Bloomfield Road. Tim, Blackpool lined up as follows against Huddersfield. Harry Tyler, back four of Fire, Pennington, Casey and Husband, two centre mids, Evans and Morgan, CJ on the left, Apter on the right, and Bloxham, our new signing, Tom Bloxham, with Ash Fletcher up front. And obviously, Tim, a big name missing from that list.
Yeah, I think obviously there were rumours circulating that Kyle was off to Hull. And so obviously, I mean, it was pretty nailed on. But obviously, when you see that his name isn't on the team sheet, it sort of confirms it that all the rumours are in fact true. And there's plenty of rumours flying around that aren't true. So, I mean, I was very excited. I know just before we get there, of course, it hasn't officially been announced yet that he's gone, has he? My gut reaction there is that the club have probably wanted to tie in with announcing another signing hopefully his replacement.
Oh, Tim,
That-
is that too sugar the bitter pill of losing Kyle Joseph?
Oh, it could well be, John. It could well be. You need to give yourself another horn.
Not that one. Go. I'm learning I'm learning off the master.
Even if yours are all plagiarised, but no. In all seriousness, I think we knew Joseph wasn't going to be in the squad. You never know where some of these tidbits you get are true, but I was told just before the teams were announced, I think I put it in the pod group, didn't I, that Bloxham was going to start down the middle, because obviously we're thinking, is he going to start him? Because there's this tendency sometimes when you bring players in to have them warm in the bench for a few games, isn't it? But I think with Joseph dipping out, he was the logical replacement. And bearing in mind your incredible scoop earlier on in the week with his agent, we knew that he could play across the front three, didn't we? Not just on the right. So we already had that intel. So it made perfect sense that Bruce would utilise the podcast intel and realise he could play centre forward as well as right wing.
That interview with his agent, it also put a few rumours to bed that we'd signed him based on the back of the Shrewsbury game when he scored that goal and tore us a new one. The deal had been simmering for quite a while, with David Downs doing a lot of the legwork with that. So, the recruitment team's come in for a bit of stick, but they're obviously, they know what they're doing really, and maybe just leave them to it. See what gems they can unearth.
I mean, you made the point, didn't you, about the fee being undisclosed, and it is a little, because I actually think we've probably paid some quite decent money for him. I mean, he wasn't being drawn on it, was he? But I don't get the impression that it was a very modest fee. So I'm guessing it was. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking we probably paid about 750,000. Now, whether we have or whether we haven't, that was the sort of what I took away from it. It must be in that ballpark. It might be more, it might be a bit less, but that's good. That's good business for us, and we'll go on to talk about him. But signing 21-year-olds for that type of fee, who've already got 2 or 3 years under the belt in the lower leagues and done their apprenticeship elsewhere, is just the type of business that a club like Blackpool, I think, should be doing.
Brad, it's just been announced there from Rob in the chat. Pete Rowe just tweeted saying the Joseph deal is done. 3.5 years, 7 million. If it's true, it's good business, but it's sad to lose him. It is sad to lose him, but if it's 2.7 million, I think it's good business. Jesus, what was that?
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. This is my protege that's literally just witnessed itself.
I thought you were moving bodies around in
the Believe me.
You've got Kyle Joseph in a body bag under the desk, have you? You're scuppering the deal.
In the club. He was kicking and screaming. He didn't want to leave. I had to make him go for 2.7 mil. I had no choice. I had to get the shovel somehow. Nah, but no. It's my daughter, Francesca, so she's a protege that I'm slowly trying to turn her into a seasider, but I'm starting her with the school club at the moment and the football grassroots, so I'm going to digress. She can go away now. Literally, no, it's good money. One of our best players on the field. I don't think he wanted to go very lightly. I don't think he wanted to leave without the best interests of the club, and obviously giving the club the best footing as possible, to be able to invest in the squad and to be able to obviously develop the squad more importantly. It's one of them where it's a double act, isn't it? It's a tough thing to do, and he loves the club, and I think that's what's a bit of pill to swallow for us. Is the fact that it's dragged out that long, that the rumours have been circulating quite a lot, and it's a shame, really. Personally, because I love Joseph, my family love Joseph. They sing him all the time, but that £2.7 million is going to be detrimental for the squad, especially in the January transfer window.
Matt, your thoughts on the deal? People in the chat, Rob and both Bisons, are saying they're guessing at £300,000 £100. If that is true, hell of a deal based on what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, really. Apart from the recent game against us, not a name that I would have necessarily come across at all. But when you sort of think back and you see or you remember how much trouble he gave Jimmy Husband, which and he really did give him trouble all game. And then we saw especially the first half. Just thought it's one of the better debuts I've seen for a long, long time. You could tell he was a winger in the way that he carried the ball, even though he was playing centrally, and was able to sort of run sideways across the pitch as well as just being a target type of man. So yeah, it looks like it's really good bit of business. If it is 300,000, if it's less than it's less than $500,000, I think we've got a decent player there, especially given his age and his potential, which is, pretty much the model type of thing we've been trying to do for the last couple of 3 years. And going back to Klye Joseph, yeah, I mean, let's be blunt and brutally honest about this. Apart from this season, he's probably flattered to deceive prior to that. He's always been a decent worker. And I saw him the first game. I remember him come on at Bolton, and I thought he looks a player. Scored a good goal at home. Who against? I can't remember. And then sort of tailed off a little bit, as probably the club itself did at that particular time. And then Critchley goes, and it looks like we've got a brand new signing all of a sudden. Scores 7 or 8 goals for us, and I think we've done well to get what we have for him, quite frankly.
Gents Bison says in the chat, up to $4 million deal for a striker who didn't reach double figures in 2 seasons. Hard not to argue with that.
Tom Harrison reckons we've properly had Hull over. He messaged me, he said you pulled the pants down there,
and that's coming from Nobber, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's coming from
makes
Nobber.
A nice change, doesn't it?
But
I wish him well, obviously, but we'll take the money and do what we can with it, which is another discussion, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the game then. Tim, come to you first. I guess you watched it on a stream, or did you limp along?
No, I was up in knowing whether to go, because obviously I'm all in the north behind the goal. Anyway, some kind soul in our business group that meet at the club actually about once a month said, "Does anybody fancy a ticket freebie in hospitality?" So I've never wanted to look a gift horse in the mouth. I took him up on the offer and was quaffing canapes and fine wine drown it with fine wine before the game. Actually, it was a bacon butty with HP sauce. It's the reality, but it was So I was on the halfway line on Saturday for a change, which was quite. I like doing it every now and then. I don't like it every week, but I like doing it every now and again. But when you are slightly indisposed, getting caught on those stairs in a bit of a rush probably isn't the best place to be. So,
just to let you know, gents, breaking news from Blackpool FC camp. We can confirm that Klye Joseph has joined Hull City for an undisclosed fee. Club would like to thank Carl for all his efforts and a tangerine shirt, and wish him all the best for the future. So they've just put it on Twitter and everything.
Done deal.
Done deal.
Are we going to get an announcement tonight, or is that too much to expect?
You said it now, Tim. The expectation's high.
Well, we've got Nick's not here, so we've probably got an hour because Nick's not on. So
we can run over a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see whether
he is not in our midst this evening, is he? So we can go over an hour. Let's hope we're getting something from the media team on Twitter then. What was that? They had a little gem published on X just before Bloxham was signed. It was a pun on the word blocks. I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
Out of the blocks? Or?
It's like something like that, yeah.
New kid on the block.
Yeah, new signing out of the blocks. So that kind of
they did have a very good spell, didn't they, when about 2 or 3 years ago with players. They were quite creative, I must admit. They did some good stuff with Medine and whatever and Keogh. So hopefully there's something going to come while we're on air. We'll see.
Maybe that's why they're delaying and announcing stuff. It's just a media team pissing around with a cardboard box out of a banner again or something.
Oh, they just waited for us to come on the pod and do the job for them. Do you know what I mean?
I'm coming out of one of those doors behind you, Brad.
That's Joseph's coat in the door. I've just hung it up. I kept it as a souvenir. Do you know what I mean?
Jerry's turning up in 10 minutes, isn't he?
Jerry, stay there, mate. Stay there. You're not wanted yet. Just wait. Oyston's in my basement. Did you not know? Locked him up.
It's like, have you been taking lessons off Mitch with his imprisonment of Gary Medine in his cellar?
Well, they say never meet your heroes.
Who's your hero, Mitch or Gary Medine?
Oh, don't say that. I'll upset both of them. Just coming out of that sea. Ooh. Don't get me started.
I think my sister likes that. Anyway, Blackpool versus Huddersfield. Tim, you obviously had a great view from where you were, so you may be your best position to talk about the opening 10 minutes. Huddersfield put us under a bit of pressure early on.
Yeah, it was a bit worrying, wasn't it? They looked very much on the front foot, and obviously they came into the game on the back of 15 games unbeaten, so they most certainly had momentum behind them, and I think I think if we'd let them, they'd have brought 5,000 fans, wouldn't they? Because they were bitterly disappointed that they only got the allocation they did. So they have got some momentum, and I think they probably see themselves trying to break into the automatic promotion spots, perhaps. But yeah, I thought they started well. But also, when we got hold of the ball, we looked good, and I think it's a continuation of this pattern, isn't it? That when we're playing the better teams, we seem to look quite decent, and we start. I think as we grew into that first 10 minutes, they started with that like a house is on fire. I think the one of their, forgive me, I can't remember his name, but the lad on the left hand side. Had a very good turn early on, which sort of showed his quality, and I think he did it 2 or 3 times at different points during the game. And I thought, God, we're going to be right under the cosh here. So it was good to weather that initial storm, and I won't move on to the next section, but we most certainly came into the game after that.
Well, he wasn't out Ollie Turton. He was on the right, wasn't he? I think it was Josh Cormer, and that was on the left. He was a predominant force, yeah, definitely.
I only realised Ollie Turton was playing into the second half. I was like, is that Ollie Turton? He got written off by a lot of Blackpool fans, didn't he? I always thought he was decent. So he must be doing something right to hold a place in their side.
Yeah. The Anthony Evans, wasn't it? It was
Anthony Evans as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, after I was just watching the highlights before I came on, I thought, is that the Anthony Evans putting that ball in? And it was.
It was indeed, yeah, exactly. I think he had an absolute shot. Did he come on as a late sub against his first time around, I think, and he had a bit of a stinker, I think.
It was at Bristol Rovers last season, wasn't it? Was it last season?
Yeah.
Well, Huddersfield's gone for a massive restructure, haven't they? Since they've come down from the Premier League, they've been in a massive decline, haven't they? And they've been restructuring their squad because obviously with the wages and everything with the financial situation that they're currently in, I think they've done very, very well this season to have the squad, and they are the most informed team in League One for a reason. Like we said, first couple of minutes, I was very concerned when I was watching it, but we held our own, and it was. I think this was the frustrating part. We knew we had the players in the starting 11, and obviously with injuries taking its toll in the first half of the season, we needed those extra 1 or 2 players like Bloxham, for example. We needed someone like that just to give us a bit of fresh air and give up to the breathing space in the wing to be able to do what obviously we're going to talk about in a second.
Let's just address this quickly before we move on to Rob Apter's goal. Andy almost just said, why not the club give these big clubs the full allocation of the East? They gave it to Stockport, which they did, but look at all the revenue we're losing. Some people don't like this East stand being full. It doesn't bother me. Adds to the atmosphere, in my opinion. I think if you're a footballer and you can't handle a big crowd, down one side of the ground. Grow up.
There is another there is another option, John.
But if there's a lot of revenue loss for the club, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I mean it's 50 grand for those teams who would bring 4,500, 5,000. It's a 50 grand hit every time, and that's a big hit. A lot of our competitors like Wigan and in going up a division, Preston and Bolton, that they're not turning away fans away in the way that we are, and they're putting money in the coffers. If there's a perceived issue with the north part of the east, then there's a couple of options. One is we put some, if it's things being thrown, put some netting up. You see it all over Europe, so that can't happen. Or secondly, why not, and this is a little bit more controversial, why not stop selling season tickets in W Block and X Block, and then in an appropriate game, you section that off and give those tickets. Now, maybe don't give them access to downstairs, but give them the tickets in those two blocks, and then you can use a section above the section they come in under, where they've got the facilities underneath the entrance there. That's right in the corner. They come in, and that would then give you 4,000 for away fans without compromising the north part of the east, which can then be used as an overflow if we ever need it. That means we can have the fan zone thing in the corner as well. And but it's and
it means they're not all down one side, as Dennis.
Yeah. Well, I know. I've spoke to Hubby. I think I said this a few times on the pod. I've spoken to Hubby, one of these player of the season dudes, and he said the players do not like it when they're all the way down the side. Now, I don't know who's leading this, whether it's the ground safety officer, the police. I don't believe the police have the power to tell you can't put fans in the north part of the east, or you can't put fans in another part of the ground. They might advise that they don't like it, but I'm pretty sure every other club would tell them where to go and to police the game properly. But it must, as a minimum, it must be costing us £250,000 a year as a minimum.
I mean, even if they just did half of the east north, that's another 1,200 seats, isn't it? Presumably, and then that's still gives you plenty of scope to have a line of stewards or whatever. That's the concern, but it's just
it might be a facility ratio, toilets to seats or something.
Yeah,
some
possibly.
Regulation.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought.
Yeah,
I thought if you gave them part of the south or that and that section above the entrance. Between the south and the east never gets used, and they're like prime. They must be like brand new seats, those, because nobody's ever sat on them.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting just to hear some information from the club, just to tell us, is it the police? Is it some external body that's enforcing this? Because if I was the owner, I'd be annoyed about all this revenue that's just going down the shit pan.
I think we're missing the trick. Go on, Tim.
No, I was only going to say, and the other thing you could then do, potentially, because it would stack up a little bit better, is reduce match day pricing.
Yeah.
To encourage more walk-ups from Blackpool fans, because the guy I was sat next to in the lounge, he was a guest of the guy who invited me. He's from Oxford, comes up, 'cause his lad's up here. He says, bloody hell, it's expensive, though, for us just to rock up and go to a game. It's like a thick end of 50 quid. He said, and but for me, it's, we need to get it down to that 25 quid walk up, maybe even a bit cheaper for some games. And if you can actually pull some money back though with those games against the Birminghams and against the Stockports, which we did let them do, didn't we? And against the Huddersfields and all the other teams, Barnsley, who would bring Bolton, who will bring decent numbers, then that allows us to manage it better. But there's only 8,200 Blackpool fans, including the non-attending season ticket holders there on Saturday. And the ground holds thick end of 17,000.
It just goes back to when the prices went up, and we're scratching our head thinking, why have you put the prices up? Is it a greed aspect? Surely we should be encouraging our home fans to be able to go and watch live football than watching it on Sky Sports during the week. I firmly believe, and I would be doing this if kids were £1 every game. Do you know what I mean? So that you can get the next generation of Blackpool fans into the football, into a live atmosphere, to be able to then progress further, to then increase the stadium capacity. Because I understand both arguments. I understand by putting more away fans in the away section, you get more revenue, you can sign more players, or you can do vice versa. But if you put it on the other hat, if you put the home supporters in, and if you don't, let's say, for example, you charge an adult 15 quid and you put a child £1, but the place is rocking and you've got the atmosphere, then you can have the away fans that go up to 5,000 or 6,000. And then you've got to then think about, and Tim pointed out moons and moons ago that you'll have fans go into the shop, buying merchandise, you'll have food being paid for, drink being drunk, and you don't have a narrow mindset, and you'd be able to have a bit more of a wide revenue coming into the club. So that £250,000 being wasted in the season because us letting away fans have the extra seats, you're going to amplify it even more. You might get 500,000, or you might get $750,000. I don't know.
The thing, Bradley, is that you can't differentiate on match day pricing between what you charge the home fans and what you charge the away fans. So what the conundrum at the moment is, and I think the club or the people who put this pricing in place have decided to prioritise getting as much money as they can off away fans. But
then not fill the away fans when they can.
But then not fill it up.
Yeah, so it's like shooting yourself in the foot twice with two pistols. Bang, bang.
You're only allowed, I think, 4 reduced prices. So I think you can do £1 a kid 4 times a season, which I think Julian Winter acknowledged that last year we didn't maximise our opportunities to do something like that, which begs the question why. But that's why you've got to balance it. And I think the view is, well, let's get 31 quid or 27 quid off 2,500 away fans, and on the basis we might only get 500 walk-ups.
But how do other clubs get away with it then, Tim? Because, as you know, my father-in-law is a West Bromwich Albion supporter. They're doing season tickets for 40 quid, 30.
Yeah, season tickets I believe season tickets are different.
But that's something we should do, 100%.
I agree that with your season tickets, you've got a lot more flexibility. It's your walk-up. So when you were saying make it 15 quid and £1 for a kid as a walk-up, you can only do that so many times a season. That's the point. But it doesn't make any sense to charge this ridiculous price. Well, not really. It's not ridiculous, but very high price for match days, and then not maximise the take from the group you're trying to, that is what where you're going to take the money from. Yeah. They're halving it.
Yeah.
Plus all the bad will amongst the Blackpool supporters that it has caused between the fan base and the club.
Yeah. And I was going to say that I think the proof ultimately it'll be in Julian Winter's spreadsheet at the end of the season, won't it? Really, he'll just sort of see the figures and they'll see, it worked or it didn't work, and may or may not know what's going on.
Tell him now it hasn't worked.
Well, I think we can all see it, can't we? The amount of empty. I looked around. I've never seen. That's a slight exaggeration, but you look around and every week there seems to be less and less people in the West Stand, particularly, which has always been filled. From the centre outwards, it's always been filled. Yet there's rows and rows of empty seats. And I'm not talking like just over the corner flag. I'm talking,
everywhere
towards the halfway line. Yeah, exactly. So it's gone wrong. And, you mentioned earlier, John, and I didn't actually realise how bad it was that it was like late September since we last won at home. And I know, we've had, Saturday was a really good game against difficult opposition, as was a couple of games over Christmas and so on. But it doesn't help trying to get bums on the seats, does it, when you don't win a home game for best part of 3.5 months now. So if we can get a couple of wins, maybe sign this new mysterious striker that we're all praying that we're going to get in the next 24 hours or something. But yeah, we all shook our heads in whenever it was, June and July, when this pricing structure came in, and here we are 6 months later and we're still huffing and puffing over it. But who are we to sort of say what should be going on at the football club?
Don't say that to Raggy.
God. You can hear him.
Well, this is it. This is what I mean. We're just not. We just don't get listened to, do we?
Yeah,
this is why you need to join the patrons group. You get Raggy's rants every day.
worth the £3.50 entrance fee. Shameless plug,
I'm
patreon.com.
maybe one day I'll have his own page in the match programme, Raggy's Rants.
Oh, speaking of that, Exeter City Football Club have contacted us as a collective, asking us to write the programme notes for Blackpool for the Exeter game at the weekend. So we need
Nice.
a suitable wordsmith to put a few words together. If
Chris
anyone's
is your man for that, isn't he?
yes.
Bring the horns.
I'll pass it on to him. Anyway, right, let's get back to the match. As Bison said, 30 minutes in, good job Nick's on tonight. Steam coming out of his ears. Because we've gone off piece there and talked about...
Nick's in bed right now.
He's having a real ale somewhere in Staveley or something at the Mortal Man, or wherever he frequents when he's constantly up there. Anyway, yeah, Rob Apter's goal. Matt, tell us all about it. A typical Rob Apter goal, some might say.
Yeah, it was ball out wide from the new boy, Tom Bloxham, wasn't it? Who Apter picked it up outside the area, did his little jink, and I thought at that point, just before that point, and for the remainder of the sort of first half, really, he had their left back on toast. I thought he played really well. He didn't know which way he was going, outside him or inside him, and a couple of little drops to the shoulder went inside. And I don't know if it was his cleanest strike ever, but he just got it right in the bottom corner. And keeper seemed to be possibly a little bit unsighted, if I'm being fair to him. But it was nice to see one of those actually go in, because he's had a few efforts in the past where keepers have managed to get round and save them. But he started off pretty well, and I thought it was a good start for us, really, after that initial, as we said about half an hour ago, that initial sort of 5 minutes, 6 minute spell that Huddersfield had, where they looked a very useful outfit. Yeah.
Tim, Huddersfield did come back into the game after that. A couple of chances down the north end. I don't know if you remember. Was it Ollie Casey blocked a goal-bound effort from one of their
did really
lads?
well, to be fair, didn't he? And listen, it was a blood and thunder game, wasn't it? It was both teams, and what I loved about it and we talk about a couple of the negatives, but in relation to the way the club approached things. But what you did get on Saturday, from the start till the end, was a bloody entertaining game, and there was loads going on. There was, both teams were there to try and win the game, which isn't always the case. Let's get it right, is it? You get all the shenanigans and the falling over and all the gamesmanship, and there just didn't seem to be that. It just seemed to be, end-to-end stuff. They'd have a go at us, and then we'd come back at them, and it was really, really entertaining. It was freezing cold, but it was proper edge of your seat stuff. And as you said, there was the block by Casey, and then we have. I don't really want to go on about this, but we then have the cross comes in, and quite frigging hell how that doesn't cross the line is beyond me. Somebody said that they thought Fletcher should have done more, but I mean, he was the other side of the ball, and the defender hooked it out before it got to him. So I'm not quite sure what Fletcher could have done other than rugby tackle the defender into the goal. But it was fantastic. It's the best. We haven't finished talking about the half, but it's the best segment of football that I've seen at Bloomfield Road for quite a long time.
Yeah, we seem to have good games against Huddersfield. Whether they're just sort of style, I don't know if it's styles, because obviously managers can come and go, as we know. But yeah, recent years we've had some decent games against Huddersfield, and obviously we had that really good result at their place earlier in the year. And I was like you, I thought it was despite the actual result, weirdly, it was probably the best game I've actually enjoyed this year. It was a real end-to-end stuff, and it didn't. I didn't want it to stop. It went really quickly, the game, and credit to both sets of players, really.
Brad, as Matt's just and Tim have just said, great game, a blood and thunder game to watch. Hobbies, I don't know what he's done. He's floated one to the back post, whether it was a cross or shot, who knows? But it almost ended up in the in the back of the nets. That was another chance that we nearly had.
Oh.
And
Honestly, it was brilliant. Hobby played a great game. CJ, honestly, he was absolutely phenomenal. I think he was unlucky not putting a ball in the back of the net. I know he tapped it and it went just wide. But Apter was at it. It was backwards and forwards all the time. You know, don't get me wrong. I was at work and I was watching it on my iPad because I got very fortunate. I was in the back office. And all the people at my work was looking at me as if, what's going on? I kept jumping up and down, like literally thinking that we was going to score every single time. And then I ended up having an audience because it was that entertaining. But credit to Huddersfield as well. They gave us a good game as well, but they only had 5 minutes of pure brilliance. I firmly believe if they didn't have that 5 minutes where they scored those 2 quick goals, I do honestly think we would have gone and won that game. Which leads up to another frustrating situation where when we play against the top teams or the informed teams in the top half, we seem to get to their wave level where we're good on the counter. And yet when we go into the bottom half of the league where it's not as in our face, we can't seem to make an answer. And it was just a breath of fresh air watching the football, especially in the first half. Obviously, Albie Morgan's goal, that was good as well, and really enjoyed that as well. But yeah, massive shout out to the team for it in total.
So Tim's scuttled off to the corporate hospitality area, quaffed some champagne, had a few quails.
Well, I did. Obviously, we had the stoppage, didn't we? Quite a lengthy stoppage in the about halfway through the half. I've not actually had any feedback about. I think the guy's all right, isn't he? From what I can gather. But that obviously it's quite concerning, and there's obviously a good reaction from the club and from the hubby. I think took the initiative on the pitch, didn't he, and grabbed hold of the ball and stopped the game.
The ref didn't, did he? The ref didn't do anything. He sort of froze.
No, I don't think he quite knew didn't quite know what to do. So also we had sort of this 10 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first half, didn't we? And we're ruining the chances that you've seen these chances. And you're thinking, God, we really should have got the second to give us a little bit of a cushion, because I think we were probably on balance. Perhaps I think a 2-0 lead would have been fair. And as Brad says, we managed to nick one literally in the last minute or two of stoppage time, when Morgan sort of pounces on a loose ball and sort of half volley, I would probably say it was, wasn't it? Half volleyed it home, and to cap off what I thought was a great performance. I thought him and Evans in midfield were imperious on in that first half, and they were going toe to toe with Huddersfield and probably coming out the better of the two. And he was incredibly frustrated, wasn't he, Morgan, when he went to thread a ball through. I can't remember if it was to Bloxham or it was to CJ, but he just slightly overhit it, and it went.
Bloxham. Yeah, I know.
He was so frustrated with himself, and but he didn't let it affect his game. He kept plugging away, and he's of our midfielders is the one who does come up. And the central midfielders is the one that comes up with some goals, doesn't he? So every credit to him, and jumping right ahead, obviously gets the man of the match award out of it as well, which I think was again justified. But I'm going to give a shout out here for Fletcher, because I actually thought Fletcher and Bloxham seemed to combine quite well, and with the big lads, aren't they? I mean, Bloxham's 6'5". I don't know what Fletcher's height is, but he looked very similar height to him. And
he gets smaller when he jumps, though. Have you noticed?
Yeah, no. but you've got, and then with CJ at 6'2", and we again can't head the ball. But it is a big forward line up there, isn't it? And then you've got Apter, who's obviously trying to level out the averages, 5'5" or whatever he is. So
he did have moments, Tim Fletcher, though, where he just seemed a bit stagnant on some elements. So I'll take that. That's 10% out of the game where he was stagnant a little bit, that he didn't know what he was doing with himself. But quite rightly, he was a different Fletcher from what we saw in the first half of the season. 100%. He felt more comfortable, and I think there was going to be a nice partnership between Bloxham. if that does come to fruition, because at the moment we don't have a strong striker in the transfer window, do we? Let's be honest. So we're going to have to rely on Fletcher an awful lot. And we were talking about confidence, weren't we? And getting his confidence up, because it was a long drought before he didn't have his goal, and hopefully the goal gave him confidence, and it has done to a certain extent. So yeah, quite right, Tim. It's long may it continue. Long may it continue.
One thing important point that we've omitted. Thanks, Dave, just reminded me. We've heard what Pennington's injury is. I thought we were disrupted after he went off. That's a great point, Dave. It did sort of mess things up a bit, and that proved to be the case with 2 goals in the opening second half.
That was a weird one, wasn't it? Because I think Evans and another and a Huddersfield player sort of clashed, and Pennington went up for a challenge as well simultaneously, and sort of fell over Evans. And I don't know what it's been prescribed at. I haven't heard any comments post match, so maybe I've missed something, but I assume he's probably landed on an ankle or twisted a knee or something. And I mean, when he went off, I thought, given that it was Baggett's first game for goodness knows how long as well, I thought he did well. But ultimately, Pennington and Carey have sort of struck up this decent partnership. And we were talking amongst our group prior to that injury that Pennington's played pretty consistently for us for a few weeks now. And it's no surprise, because he's a centre-half and not a bloody third right centre-half or a right-back or anything like that. That's what we bought him at, was the centre-half. And he's playing as a centre-half, and he looks a decent centre-half at this level. So, it's probably no surprise to him that he's actually playing okay. It's more of a surprise to us, I guess, because we haven't really still seen the best of him. But I think we're starting to see it, and it's just unfortunate that he's got this bloody injury now. But, let's hope it's not a bad one and he can come back before too long.
A massive shout out to Casey, though, because Pennington and Casey were on absolute fire in defence. And I know there was a moment where Huddersfield would have scored if it wasn't for Casey's intervention.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I do firmly believe we would have lost that game if it wasn't for Casey. So huge shout out to him.
Yeah, and it's ironic really, because when Baggett did come on, then we had the better balance, because he's the left footer, isn't he? And Casey and Pennington are both right footers. But even more sort of kudos to Pennington and Casey then for managing to get through as 2 right-footed centre halves. Which I'll just digress slightly. The one criticism I'll give Bloxham is that he definitely doesn't have a left foot. That's for sure. But he can work on that, I'm sure.
I actually, and this will feature in part of the second half. I think because it's his first game, he doesn't want to mess something up, and I think probably he was playing slightly within himself and slightly more cautiously than he might have done. It's a little bit like Charlie Adam. When Charlie Adam was at Blackpool, he could get away with anything, and I'm sure Bloxham could get away with anything at Shrewsbury. And I think what we'll probably see is, as he grows into the shirt, and as he gets used to us and we get used to him, he'll relax a bit more. And I think he might, on another day, I think he would have, if not had, obviously there's one obvious one in the second half, but I think he might have had 1 or 2 goals. And I think we'll see that. And I think, but I think on your debut, you don't want to make an idiot of yourself. And I think perhaps he just, a couple of times, he probably just played the safe option.
Yeah,
he came in a couple of times, didn't he? And looked to pass it rather than where I think he was playing for Shrewsbury, he'd have gone outside and had a shot.
Is that not, though, Tim, a consequence of playing as a number 10 up front as opposed to his normal position on the wing?
Yeah, maybe. And again, he's playing for the team, so to speak, isn't he? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the balance, I think we got the balance. I think Bruce got the balance right, because Apter had, particularly in the first half, a great game on the right-hand side. I wonder whether he might have brought Apter in to play off Fletcher and then put Bloxham on the right. I was sort of half expecting that until I got told he's playing down the middle. I think looking at that first half performance, you can't really criticise Bruce for setting that team up the way he did, because it performed admirably, didn't it?
Apart from the first 5 minutes of the second half, Matt.
Yeah, and as you do when you're 2-0 up, you always fear the 2-0 up and you up song coming back.
I
to haunt
stupidly
you.
started checking the as it stands league table on football at half time.
Well,
It was my fault.
It's always the same. You know what we're like, Blackpool. We're never safe. We've never been safe at 2-0 up in the last 100 years, have we? So, you know, the first thing you want to do is keep it tight and then get a third, and then we can relax. And, you know, Blackpool being Blackpool, we just don't do that, do we? So, yeah, it was crash bang wallop of a response from Huddersfield, wasn't it? First goal. Taylor's first for Huddersfield, I would imagine. I think that was his first game for them, wasn't it? Yeah. Didn't really see so much of it from the north. It looked like Tyra got down really slowly, but then I'm hearing that there was a bit of a deflection on it. So, you know, it just seemed like it was a bit of a soft sort of goal in that regard. And then the second one felt...
I think, sorry.
Well, that was it, yeah.
Sorry, they weren't closed down quick enough, but on both occasions for me.
Yeah, weren't closed down quick enough. The second one out to gave the ball away with a silly little flick, and two of our players were ahead of him trying to get the ball, and they were completely out of the game. And then there's a massive gap. Ran forward 15 yards, nobody coming out to attack him. Little deflection too late, and it was top corner. And, you know, there you go. There's your 2 goals in 2 minutes or whatever it was, and you're back to square one, aren't you? So
if I want to stick up for Tyra on the first, it was that it did come through a lot of bodies, that shot.
Yeah. Well, that's what I couldn't tell from the north. It just looked like he just went down really slowly, but that's just opinion of where you sat and stood, isn't it? I guess.
I think Matt. I think you might have got this mixed up, as Davies just said. I thought the deflection was on the second and not on the first.
Second goal.
I was pointing the finger of blame at Tyra, to be honest, but he did.
There was definitely a boot on the second one. I just thought there might have been a deflection on the first one as well. The way it sort of, like I said, the way he sort of seemed to go down in installments.
Just seems to go through a crowd, that one. And Tyra dived, but he dived too late and it went underneath him, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, which is a shame because, you know, I don't know when it was, towards the end of the game, he pulled off an absolute worldie, didn't he? The header. So
I was going to say that there was 2 moments where Huddersfield could have actually nicked the game, and that it was Casey where he made the stop, and then you've got Tyra who absolutely dived to get that ball out, and he did an absolute wondrous save. We knew he had it in him. You know, it was the confidence when he did, obviously, you know, ages ago when he did an absolute blinder. You know, he's a young lad. He's learning his trade, isn't he? You know, and when you've got moments like that where you've got the talent, then you've got to give the kid a break. And at the moment, he's starting to get in form really, really well. And long may it continue. It's just unfortunate with the 2 goals. He was 5 minutes of madness, and Brucey turned it around, and he got us playing football again, going back on, you know, Huddersfield's wavelength.
I think that's a good point, bro. I mean, you know, days gone by, not so distant past, would have just collapsed, and it would have been 3-2 to Huddersfield before we know it. And I thought we were, again, once we'd sort of, you know, given ourselves a bit of a slap across the face, we'd woken up and we were the better side again, I thought, for a long period. And then, you know, lack of options from the bench, probably, you know, the last 20 minutes, we were just lacking that impact, weren't we, really? And it sort of just, we ran out of steam a wee bit, I thought.
You actually analysed the game in both halves. We had the best chances, and we're doing that against the form team in the division. I mean, Apter must be having nightmares about that ball that comes across. To be fair to CJ,
I was waiting for the net to bulge, Tim, right behind it.
So you look at that one, which was on any other day, he's going to hit the target, isn't he? And it's I feel sorry for him because he'd had a great game up to that point as well. And then the, you know, just going forward a little bit, the double shot that got with goal line clearances off the line. There's a penalty shout with a handball.
Nailed on that pen. Absolutely nailed on.
You just know that if that was at the other end, it would have gone against us, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just know it.
And you tot up all these chances, and we are unlucky not to have taken the lead again, really. And that's credit to Bruce and it's credit to the lads. And I think that continued until we started making the subs, because I think every single sub, and there's an aberration of a sub that wasn't made. But I think every sub weakened us. Now, other than Baygot, with the first one, I mean, that was enforced, and I thought Baygot acquitted himself quite well when he came on. But then when we started making changes, we lost the plot a bit. I mean, the decision to take Fletcher off and then move CJ to centre forward is I struggled with that one. If I'm being kind to Bruce, it's that maybe he thought with his pace he might just get with Bloxham the other side of one of their players. But we know CJ, and CJ can't hold the ball up, can't head the ball, can't pass the ball. What he can do is run with it, and he just looked lost. So we had a 10-minute period where he was playing up front, which I don't think does any favours. And then
Carey didn't make a difference either, did he?
Carey didn't, and neither did
Rhodes.
Rhodes either. So you're willing Rose to score a goal, but it just doesn't look like he's got it in him at the moment. I mean, the last couple of games he came on, he's been a bit unfortunate, but I thought he didn't get long, to be fair, and neither did Carey. So it's difficult to be too critical. We obviously saw Silvera pronounce it, do you, as well, for a little cameo. But none of them, for me, none of them improved us. We didn't look better with them on the pitch than the lads who we took off.
We need to find a youngster. Sorry, Tim.
Go on, no,
we need to find a youngster that the club that's been scouting and vice versa, where we can get a loan for 6 months that could be an impact sub. Because that's what we're lacking at the moment. From the 70th minute onwards, we're running out of steam. In the first half, we're always playing well against teams, and then we always let ourselves go. And then all of a sudden, Bruce is trying to find a way of changing formations, trying to change it up. Now, to be honest, Kerry can get a Route 66 bus back up to Kendal. I don't like the guy. And that's nothing personal. I just don't see him as a player for us, and I think we need to get him out the door. And so we can bring some
player, isn't he? He's a Critchley player.
He's a Critchley player.
System. Yeah.
And yeah, he was suited in a Critchley system. The Critchley system didn't work. And I know we keep referring back to that, but that's what happened last season. Like, we need to bring in some new blood. We need to bring some youth in. We need to bring someone's experience. Because let's be really frank about this. Rhodes played really well for us last season, but I've seen a completely different side of Rhodes this season. He comes on the bench and he doesn't produce anything. He comes on in the 75th, 78th minute, or even the 85th minute, and we get nothing from him. And it's a shame, because he used to get us the goals that we need to, and we obviously got him a contract because he did that for us. But maybe we need to go and speak to a Premier League team. Maybe look at an under 21 or under 18 Liverpool player that's not getting game time at the moment, that's gone through the academy, that's been taught right to be able to implement as a sub, and then Brucey can work on what he needs to work on with the player and develop him a little bit so that we can make that impact. And that's what I'm referring to. It's a shame, really. I think we're missing a trick on that one.
It would be better having Kouassi back at the moment, because if you want somebody who might make an impact in the last 10 minutes, he's somebody who's got the ability to do it. Now, he got sent off, I think, on Saturday, didn't he? But But all I'm saying is, you're right. We've got nobody where if you had him, or if you had like the young Premiership lad who's looking for some time, they might do something.
Yeah. Get Gary Medine back. I know Mitch would absolutely dream of that. It'd be a wet dream of his to bring Gary Medine back, the one and only. But we need someone like that to come on the pitch when all this tired legs, because when Huddersfield changed to subs, they were getting more and more at it, and they had their little go, and we had our go as well. And we should have, don't get me wrong, we should have put away the chances that we had. But that's a tendency that we've got at the moment, because like Matt said, we're like the big bad wolf. We're huffing and puffing, and nothing's coming out of it. It's like we're putting all our eggs in the basket to try and get as far ahead in the first half as we can.
Sorry, I'm going to say Bruce said start this transfer window, or maybe even earlier than that. He said, it's quality rather than quantity, isn't it, with the squad that he wants? So, where are we? 10 days, 11 days to go in the transfer window. He could ship out another 4 players yet, and we might get 1 in, we might get 2 in, we might get rid of 5. And if that's the 2 quality players, it might make a difference, preferably maybe at least 1 striker and something else that can score a few goals as well, another midfielder perhaps, who knows. Then that will give us that will give him the options off the bench, and it will give us the hopefully the ability on the pitch to see some more home wins that we haven't seen since the 20-odd of September or whenever it was. So, yeah, we'll just have to hope these happen quick, because the last thing we need to do is do it all on midnight on the 31st of January. We need to do it quick.
Look, get me yellow jumper ready. Right, at least we were entertained anyway, weren't we? It was good to be entertained at Bloomfield Road, and we all left the ground with a bit of an air of disappointment, but I think it was majority positive because of the performance and the entertainment value, and I think there's the signs there that I think we've turned the corner, and wins surely aren't that far away, considering I think we've played the top 5 in the last 4 games and been cheated against Wrexham and not been beaten in any of them. So, the future is reasonably positive. Let's do player ratings now. Brad, I don't know if you're qualified to do it. You've been dipping in and out. If not, just let us know, and Tim and Matt can handle it.
That's fine. I can live with that.
All right, Tim, away you go. Harry Tyler. One worldie, one questionable goal.
So it's a mixed bag for him, isn't it? He's still. I like him. He's learning. I think it's a valid point that had it not been for the deflection, I suspect he'd have got the second. I think the deflection takes it just away from him where he was perhaps expecting it to go and where the striker was expecting it to go. And he pulls off an absolutely fantastic save at the end. I think he can, he's still, there was one bit where he sort of ends up hitting it into his chest or whatever. Don't want to waffle on too long. I think 7 is fair.
Say so. Matt, 24 a fire.
Yeah, probably one of his quieter games, really. Normally you see him sort of marauding down a bit on the right-hand side, and maybe that's just testament to Huddersfield being one of the better sides. But there was a couple of times where one of my mates was sort of, not in a nasty way, but berating him for a couple of bad touches. And then you have to remind yourself that this is a guy who's a centre-half that's playing right-back, and, you would think that, generally speaking, right-backs have better sort of ability on the ball than a centre-half do. So I thought he had a decent game. So, a solid 7, really.
Brad, over to you. Peno made obviously off in the first half, but it's obviously had a big impact in going off. Maybe if he played on the entire game, we wouldn't have conceded those 2 goals.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pennington, he's been in form, he's been developing, he's been improving game on game. It's hard to say really. I would probably give him a 6+ based on the good moments that I've seen. It would have been straight up to an 8 if he didn't get injured and prevented the 2 goals. He would have been a lot higher.
How can you downgrade him for getting injured?
I can, and I will. I stand by my decision, Tim.
Proportionate marking, Tim.
So you get a pro rata score, surely.
Yeah, pro rata.
What was that when COVID points per game system they had?
Okay, 7 minus. I'm feeling generous.
Points. Yeah, go on. Yeah, implement the FPR.
7 minus, Tim. Just for you.
Go on, thank you.
Right, Tim, you can have his centre-half partner, Ollie Casey, another worldie of a clearance and another towering performance from the player not deemed good enough by Neil Critchley to be Blackpool centre-half.
It's ironic that these players who couldn't get in the team all of a sudden are most important players, isn't it? And it's as if us on the podcast actually knew what we were talking about all the way back when, isn't it? I'm torn. I'm torn because I thought he was fucking fantastic. I'm going to go a 9. I'm going to go a 9. I thought he was up there.
Yeah.
I nearly went 8+, but that's where I was torn. I was thinking of 8+, but to be fair to him, he's consistent week in, week out. He's up against the best attacking team in the division at the moment, and he looked every bit what you want from your main and your dominant centre back. I just think he's quality. I'm glad we kept him and we didn't ship him out. And I think he's proved any doubters that wrong, and so some might think I'm a little bit generous with it, but I'm happy to be generous after watching what was a great game of football.
I don't think so, Tim. I think it's a fair score. He's been a colossal.
Well, Bison's agrees with me, so there you go. So I must be right.
You're on it.
Okay, Matt, you've got Jimmy Husband. I thought Jimmy had a great game at the weekend, a great pro.
Yeah, it was one of his sort of back to his consistent type of League One performances, wasn't it, really? He was getting it forward when he could, and I don't remember any particular problems that he had when he's defending. There was one annoying part when he was trying to buy a penalty instead of crossing it in the second half, I think it was, in front of the North Stand. And I think he realised at that point he'd made a bit of a ricket. But yeah, I'll give him a 7.5.
Okay, Brad, let's go from right to left on the pick. You can have CJ. Quite effective, wasn't he?
Yeah,
best games in a while.
He was just showing us what he's capable of doing, and what we know that he can do when he's fully fit. I'm going to give him an 8-.
Interesting.
You like the minuses, don't you? Good use of the system.
I'm giving an A- because, and the reason why I'm giving him A- is he was good this game, but I honestly think that he's going to improve and he's going to be detrimental if we can keep him fit and he improves his form. He's going to be more and more needed going forward, and he could go up to a grade 9. Easy.
He adds that little bit of extra, doesn't he?
It's the quality. It's what we need.
He can carry the ball at the pitch and just skin one of their fullbacks and get the ball in. Yeah, just get a goal from nothing.
Yeah.
Right, Tim, into the middle of the park. Albie Morgan. Another goal. Another industrious performance from the wee man in midfield.
Yeah, I think he had a very good game. He got the sponsors man of the match, didn't he? And he came up to the lounge afterwards and had a bit to say, which was nice to hear. I personally don't think he was man of the match. I think that was Casey for me. So I'm going to go 8+.
Fair enough. Matt, his midfield partner, Lee Evans. What's your score?
Yeah, he wasn't as good as Morgan. I don't think that's probably because he hasn't got the legs of Morgan. And I thought that there were times, as per usual with him, where he's sort of, once the ball goes past him, it's sort of game over for him in the nicest possible way. But his quality on the ball is still there. There were less Hollywood passes on Saturday rather than there has been in previous weeks. And then there was a couple of times when he put beautiful balls in and everyone was sort of just static. You just think, for Christ's sake, this is where we're missing a bloody striker, isn't it?
Do you remember that shot with the outside of his boot that he put a wicked curl in and it was right under the crossbar? And
there was one.
Got it.
And then there was one in the first half where he smashed it, but it was about a yard wide. And he's a quality player, but he probably just needs. I think there's something still missing in that midfield for me, because as soon as we get Evans and Morgan ahead of the ball, and there's a lot of teams that tend to have a number 10 that drop into that space, and then we're a bit sort of screwed. But anyway, that's something for Bruce to worry about at the moment. But I'll give him an 8 then after that waffling sentence or two.
After that Mitch style monologue.
Sorry about that.
Right, where are we? Brad, Rob Apter, another goal, another incisive performance. Or add something that we don't have.
Yeah, no. Before I mentioned Apter, Bison's corrected me quite well. I thought I got away with it. I was meant to be instrumental, not detrimental.
I know.
I know. Oh,
there you go.
I'm sorry. I get flustered. It's one of them.
Brad's performance today on the pod as a panelist, 6-.
Oh Jesus! I'll blame my daughter.
That was like Apter's miss, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Worst to set. Jerry, go away. Literally. So with Apter, he was absolutely phenomenal. Shame that he missed that opportunity. I'm not going to give him a minus. I'm going to give him an 8+. I think if he didn't make that mess, it would have been a 9 for me, 100%. But 8+.
As David's just said, though, he did give up for the second goal. He did sort of be instrumental.
He was great in the first half, though.
Yeah, but yeah.
You don't get many wingers defending, though, do you?
No, that's
it's proper
true.
old
Very
school
good
in that
point.
regard, isn't it?
It's not their job. Not my job, Gov.
I can easily be influenced. Tim, do you think he deserves the 9?
No, I think 8+ is fair. I think also if he had scored that goal, then it would have been a 9.
David, brutal. He's giving him a 7.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
The sun's going to your head, David. We've seen your holiday pics.
He was definitely better than a 7 on Saturday. And they were doubling up on him in that first half. They had to, because he didn't matter what. Even when somebody mishit a ball to him, he managed to get his foot up and I don't remember it in the first half and drag it down and keep the ball in play. I think it was Evans had completely ballsed up the pass to him. It was either him or Fletcher. I can't remember now. But I thought he was literally on fire, and they couldn't control him.
I think 7's a harsh score. Bison's saying 7- like that. Like John said, he did set up the second goal. He got the first.
He was blowing towards the end. Yeah, Bison says that. He was blowing, but you need to sub him. He should have been subbed from.
Should have been subbed. He was showing the passion. He was showing the desire. He's showing exactly what we wanted. Who wants to wear a Blackpool shirt? Yeah. That's where.
Could have put Bloxham out there on the right for a bit.
Yeah, I said that. I said exactly that, Tim.
Yeah. He can play in that position.
Anyway, we're on an hour 7. We better get going. I've just been texted by Mr. Nick Smith. What the fuck are you lot playing at?
Sorry, Nick.
Right, let's do the front 2 and then we'll call it a day. Matt, you can have Ash Fletcher.
He could have an absolute worldie of a game, and I'll probably still only give him 6.5 or 7. I'll give him 7. He did set up the second goal, didn't he? So I'll give him 7, but 2.5 for his heading ability still.
Finally, Brad Tom Bloxham on his debut, a very capable debut, and flashes of the player we know he's going to be, and a great signing for me. How do you think he did, score-wise?
I think he played really, really well. Tim was quite right in what he said. He was very apprehensive. I hope Bison's is happy with that analogy.
Is it an analogy? It's not an analogy.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
No. Someone get him a thesaurus.
Right. Sorry, Brad. It's 5 minus.
5+. Yeah, 5 minus.
Brad Motherwell. No, not 5+, 5 minus. I'm using
no, the minuses. Oh, dear. No, I'm going to give him an 8- for his debut. I think he played very, very well.
I think that's fair, yeah.
It was just blowing a bit like most were, but, the last 15 or 20 minutes just faded, didn't he? But, as far as debuts go, it's one of the better ones that we've had.
I think some of the fact we're blowing was probably, it was such a high tempo game, wasn't it? And they were pressing, we were pressing, and they just had better subs to bring on at the end. That was the
exactly. Yeah.
Fuck's sake. Oh, where's my Jester outfit? Let me go and get in the clown outfit. Jerry, come out of the closet. Come on.
What's the yin, the yang to the horn? We'll have to think of something.
Exactly. Just for the benefit of the audio pod, MBS just said in the comments, Brad needs his own sound effect. I think I have actually got that somewhere.
Yeah, you probably have. Probably. I'm pretty good at making myself look like an idiot, but it's fine. It's all good. All for the name of entertainment.
One more time.
That's going to be used a lot between now and May, isn't it? I reckon.
Especially if I'm on the pod. Jesus Christ. My intro, that is.
Yeah. If you're a darts player, that would be a walk-on music. Right, let's fire this through very quickly. We've had a bit of transfer news since we've last come on. Obviously, Tom Bloxham we've discussed. Sammy Silvera, whatever his name is, he's in. Josh Anoma's in. Anyone got any thoughts on those two incomings?
Well, interestingly, Paul Simpson was up in the lounge after the game, and he was manager of the under-21 to under-20 team that won the World Cup in 2017. And he said, and bear in mind that Solanke, Cook, who I think's at Bournemouth, and Calvin Lewis were all, I think Calvin Lewis, were all in that team. He says Josh was by far and away the best player. So if there's anybody can get him back where he should be, he played a lot of games for Fulham, obviously played for Tottenham.
We need someone to get a Tim, we need someone to get a tune out of him.
We do.
I wonder.
But maybe that's why Bruce has given him the opportunity, because and Simo was just said that, you know, he wasn't just like saying he was the best. He was saying he was by far and away the best player. He was like the standout player. So, and that's, you know, that, listen, that is 8 years ago, but you don't lose that ability, do you? So let's hope he can find it, and Brucey can be his Pied Piper.
And if he can't, TC can always get a tune out of him.
TC can.
If anyone can, TC can.
It's only a deal to the end of the season, isn't it? I think, is that right?
Yeah. Well, he's got a chance, hasn't he? He's got a chance.
Yeah. It's a good incentive for him to obviously show us what he's got, hopefully, and then we're sort of like not taking a silly risk like we did with Oakley Booth or whatever, Oakley Booth, and a 2-year deal or something stupid.
Oh, God.
I know.
Right, Ollie Norburn out on Wigan, Klye Joseph gone, Zac Ashworth out on loan, Sassi, whoever he is, out on loan, and Jack Moore out on loan. None of them, Ollie Norburn aside, really are going to have any effect on the first team. Klye Joseph, obviously, but we've done him. Ollie Norburn to Wigan. Anyone got any thoughts on that?
It seemed inevitable he was going to go somewhere, really. Just wasn't getting game time, was he? At his age, he needs it. Simple as that.
Whatever reason, Bruce
Yeah.
He knows the two he wants, and I think if he's going to have another midfielder, he's probably going to want a slightly more attacking one. But I like when he's a good player. When he's on his game, he's a good player. But I just don't think we've ever quite seen the best of him, have we?
No, it's annoying, really. Because
good at the start of the season, just after Critchley left, wasn't he? When he was being
just annoying because when we signed him, it was a really good signing on paper, as they say. But yeah,
it was a bit of a wild signing, Matt, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah. I mean, he's played God knows how many games for Peterborough, and always been a thorn in many opposition's side. And just a sort of midfielder we wanted, somebody with a bit of bite and combativeness. And then all of a sudden we just don't see the best of him. Gets injured, and not quite fitted in for whatever reason. So,
anyone got any thoughts on the other transfer? The players in or out that we've mentioned there before we head off. Anyone bothered about the others?
I think Silvera, with the jury's out because we haven't seen enough of him. I mean, I think he left Portsmouth under a bit of a cloud because I don't think they liked him. But his first touch was good, but then it was like 10 minutes and we were on the back foot, weren't we? So we never really saw much of him. So hopefully he can do something. I don't know. I don't see how at the moment he's going to get ahead of the 2 or 3 white players we've got in there. So it'll be interesting to see how much game time he gets.
Obviously, drawing away from the transfer window, obviously, we actually had to stop the game, didn't we, to a person in the stands who needed medical attention. So I hope the person is recovering well after the game.
Absolutely. Right. I think we'll park Exeter because I'm speaking to their social media guy tomorrow. So I'll maybe do a bit of a pre-record for a preview. I think we're on an hour 15. So we'll leave it there. We don't want to incur the further wrath of Mr. Smith N, do we? Going over? No. Certainly don't. If you're watching this on YouTube, put on the banner there. Do like and subscribe to the show. Plenty of people watch this. You don't subscribe. As Tim was banging the drum the previous show, if you do subscribe on YouTube, you do get notifications when we do go out. So click that subscribe button, click like, and all that bollocks. Right, all that remains to be said is thanks, gents, for coming on. Thanks for everybody for watching. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for downloading. All that remains to be said is up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Come on, boys. We'll win on Saturday.
Come on.